Hey everybody, Corey Schrader, Black Creek Wealth Management. Hope you're doing well. Wanted to go ahead and get in front of you just real quick. Wanted to run you through just a couple of trades that I've put on this week. So wanted to, again, look at. I actually have a couple of things going on. So I have where I'm shorting the market through leverage ETFs or exchange traded funds. I also have a couple of spreads that I'm going and that I've actually placed on this Monday. And I also have a individual stock trade that I'm playing with regarding a little bit of some time and using put options for that. So I'm going to go ahead and run off three quick topics. The first one that I'll run you through is just my first individual trade. So went ahead and went with Home Depot this week. There's a couple of things and I'll show you here just on my charting how I look at everything. So over the last couple of weeks, and this is on a weekly basis, this is actually on a daily basis, you can clearly see over the last couple of days and even over the last week or so, Home Depot has taken a pretty good hit. And a lot of that has to come by way of just the economy's starting to look like it's going to slow down. Interest rates are climbing up a little bit higher. So there's a couple of things that are hitting the housing sector, and Home Depot is feeling it as well. Durable goods orders is going to come out this week, and it'll probably show that people haven't been spending any money on big purchase items. So this is absolutely, in my opinion, going to affect Home Depot. Well, there's a couple of other indicators that I use to also tell me when something is either bought or oversold. And this is going to feed into some of my other trades, so I'll just show you real quick. So I use something called RSI, I use stochastics on the fast track, and I use MACD, and I have various settings based off of how I use things. So from what I look at and just how I view everything, right now, Home Depot is definitely feeling some downward pressure. We're not in quite oversold territory, and had a couple signals back on August where it was looking like things were getting overbought. So what I'm looking at is how can I take advantage of this downward pressure over the next couple of months? So the way I look at it is I can buy a put option, which gives me the right to put shares to somebody at a certain price. So what I'm looking at is I'm not looking at the shares themselves. I'm actually just looking at how can I buy a put at a certain price and then close out of it at a higher price and take the profits. So when I got in on this trade, and again, I'm looking at the 300 level, which there's clearly been what's called support at that 300 level for a little while. But I believe that this is going to move from 305, 306, and I think it's going to move into this range right here. I just don't think it's going to happen this week. So I went ahead and I put on some time out to October 30th because I believe that it's going to come down over that time period. So what I'm doing is I'm using that time to my advantage, and I believe it's going to trend down. It's already below its 50 and 20-day moving average and is breaking below its 200-day moving average right now. So there's a lot of negative things. On a daily basis, it's showing oversold. But again, I'm more focused on the weeklies where it's just showing that it's starting to get to that oversold position, but we're not there yet. So that's the trade that I have on right now. I got in at 460, so I got in a little bit higher price. Right now it's sitting at about 415, but again, with the volatility or Vega and ultimately the delta on this thing, it's going to move and it's going to gyrate over the next couple of weeks, but I still believe that this trade is going to be a profitable one, so stick on that. The second trade that I'll show you is my spread trade that I put on, and I put this on a weekly basis, and I do this for clients. And ultimately what I'm looking at right now, and if you're not familiar with a spread is where you buy and sell one side of an option, either a call or put, and you sell the higher and you buy the underlying to really just cover your backside if it drops. So I wrote this in my newsletter, my free newsletter that I send out to everybody. I really, truly believe that this market is going to head towards probably around 4250. And when I say market, I'm using S&P 500. I think it's going to drop to about 4250. I think it might even try to tackle maybe even this where I have actually the spread right at about 4150. I think it's going to touch that. And this is a longer term trend line. And you can actually see there's a channel with this yellow being right around the average. So it's playing in this average range and it's trying to hold this line. I don't think we're going to see it, but I also don't think this week that we're going to get to 14, let's just say 4,150 on the S&P 500. So what did I do? I went in this morning and I went ahead and I bought and sold some options on that spread. So got in at, I'm selling an option or a put option at 415 and I'm buying an option at 404. So I'm going to make a good premium on the 414 by selling it, but to hedge my bet, I'm going to go ahead and buy the underlying. So that way, worst case, if it falls, I know what my total risk metric is. So right now I'm trading just over 350,000 on this position. And I actually was able to get a credit of 0.30 or 3%. I was able to get 3% or almost 10,000 on this trade this week. Now, what I could do is because it's cut in half, I could go back in and close it out and make a 1.5% on that trade in one day. Well, based off my probabilities, based off where I see things going, and based off of just how the trade is, I'm going to wait and I'm actually going to see, and I truly believe I'm going to end up being able to capture that 3% this week. So I'm going to sit on that trade. I'm going to play the spreads and I'm going to call it a day. So that feeds into the last trade, and that's just the inverse that I have right now. And what I love about it is right now I'm sitting on a short, or I'm basically short the market. So what does that actually mean? Well, I got in on this trade back September 6th is when I think it was. So if I go back and I look on the daily, so I got back on this trade right about here. So where was it? So didn't catch the full brunt. I didn't get in up here. Honestly, it's really tough to try to get the top of the top and the bottom of the bottom when it tries to shift. But I got in right about here and shorted the market. So I bought an ETF that is 3 times the downside of the market. So I was happy when it dropped. Obviously wasn't too happy when it went back up. But I bought more into it because I still believe that we're in this downtrend, and was able to use a little bit of what I'm calling a descending triangle in an upward moving market. So here was the support line here. Here's a downward trend line. It was tapping up against it. Volume was not supporting a breakout. It had a falling window after the Fed. And once it did that, I'm like, okay, either this is a breakaway gap, which means it's going to break away and break down and it's going to keep going down, or it's an exhaustion gap of this downward trend, in which case it's going to try to come back and refill that. But even if it does, it's still feeling this downward trend. So I feel relatively comfortable right now that, yeah, I might see the market pop up and I might, be upset a couple days. It might gyrate 3 to 5 to 10%. But overall, we're still in this downward trend. And until we hit this 200-day moving average, I'm still pretty bearish on where the S&P is. Now, it's trying to fight back on a daily perspective, but when we look at it on a weekly perspective, it is still starting to move into that oversold territory. We're not there yet. You got stochastics that are showing it's trying to fight back. You got momentum that's starting to show that, okay, it's slowing down a little bit. So I'm going to be watching over the next couple of days to see, is momentum falling out? And if it starts to trail back up, I'm going to try to take the position. And again, I got back in on 9.6, so right about there. Let's say I got in. Actually, we can go back and look at it specifically. So I got back in at 9.6, which was right about here. And I don't know what the price was that I got in just offhand. But let's say I take the average, and the average was somewhere right around, the low was 446. So let's say I got in at 447, right? So right now, the market's at 432 divided by 447. So the market is down 3%. So right now on that trade, if we take it times 3, sitting at a pretty nice profit. So roughly about 10% on this trade. And that's been about 2 weeks. So like I said, it ebbs and flows. But those are the trades that I have on this week. What I'm looking for is any sort of indication that this is going to try to fight back. What I did notice is today that it was pretty much a flat day until the end of the day. And then there was a lot of volume that just popped in at the end, but it was relatively flat today. So I'm going to look at tomorrow. I'm going to see if anything changes there. Interest rates continued to move higher again today, but the market still tried to fight higher. I really think this is going to be one of those things where eventually tech is going to break because the interest rates are moving higher. And with that, the market's going to come down. So right now I'm bullish on the downside or bearish on the market. So I'm going to continue to play that trade. I'm going to continue to watch these spreads to make sure I don't have to close them out. But as of right now, everything looks pretty good. So if you got questions, feel free to comment below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be reviewing these trades probably 3 times a week. So I'll go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just tell you how the progression went on these trades and if I changed anything. But I'll be doing this on a weekly basis. So have a blessed day. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Corey Schrader, Black Creek Wealth. Take care.